Is that one of the trampoline places, or is that a trampoline place? Nice. I would probably break myself.
We went to Woody's and then went bowling.
Nice. All right, so your homework, we're jumping, we'll get it. We're jumping again into chapter 9, and guys, I only had just about a half hour with you this morning. I got about 35 minutes now, but classes are shortened because of the testing schedule and everything else. So we want to make sure we get in these last couple days of class, like learning some more stuff, before we get to that state test. Right, so that's your homework, and that's going to have general, like, review, preview. As you know, the homeworks always roll. And we, today, are specifically talking about surface area and volume. So, before we, like, dive into the lesson, what do we know about surface area and volume? Who can tell us, like, oh, I already know. Ooh, area involves, like, let's see if this will work.
The outside.
I even restarted my computer and it's still mad at me.
Like, the surface area is kind of like perimeter of the area on the outside.
Ooh, it's kind of like the perimeter, but in area. So perimeter, when we're talking a 2D shape, is all the edges around, right? So surface area, are you actually going to work now? Maybe? Yeah. So if you could please write down surface area in your notes. Surface area. And after that, we can abbreviate it SA. But I need you to write the words at least once, please. So please write surface area. And if you put it in your header, you could just, like, grab an arrow from it. Is the total area of the outside. And we're going to put that in quotes. Now, perimeter is just length, right? It's just like this, like, string has, like, just length. So when we talk surface area, it's the flat, it's the space. It still has length, but it also has space, right? You with me on the difference between that? So that's where we use surface area versus when we're dealing with a 2D shape, it has perimeter because it doesn't have physical, like, height and an outside. So then volume. We're going to write down a definition for that, too. So if you don't have volume on your notes yet, please write volume. Who can help me out with volume? Or volume like that.
No, thank you.
That's not the volume we're talking about. Casey?
Volume is the amount of space inside.
Yeah, the total space inside of something. What? Ask it. So remember, with both of these, and we should have defined this initially, these only work. These words that we're talking about only work if we're in the 3D world, dealing with 3D shapes.
So in 2D it's just area.
In 2D it's just area and perimeter. Can't have volume. We don't really talk about surface area because there's just one surface. So volume is total space inside. Sorry, that's an S, and on the smartboard I can't just write over myself. By the way, not that anyone asked, but camping was great. I asked you about your weekends.
I didn't know. I forgot you went camping.
Nice little recharge. It was awesome. Get away from the city, away from the technology. When I finally went to use my cell phone, it had 2%, so then I couldn't use it, but that was fine.
You got bit? Did you get bit?
No. Why did you immediately think I got bit? There are mosquitoes out already.
Yeah, you.
So, when we're dealing with surface area and volume, it helps to be able to visualize this stuff. So, guys, there are really two different types of three-dimensional shapes. There are prisms, which define most normal, quote-unquote, shapes, and then there's, like, the other, pyramids and cones and more particular. So prism shapes take an object, like a flat object, when we're talking in the 2D world, so you're going to take, like, a square, or a square, and then we blow it up vertically and just stretch it straight up and give it volume. We give it height. So now it becomes a 3D object, but the bottom and the top, quote unquote, remember, like we talked about with Ender's Game, there's no up. I can manipulate this, so bottom and top are kind of loose words. But the bottom and top, the bases, we call the bottom and top, both bases, are identical. Both a square, or both a triangle, or both any shape we talk about. So pentagons, hexagons, whatever, as long as it has the same shape on bottom and top, that's a prism. So I want you to take a moment in your notes, write down prism, and then define it however you want. I'm going to write a definition up here, but it's just a 2D shape stretched upward to the same 2D shape. Or actually, it doesn't have to be upward, so we maybe shouldn't use that word. But I'm going to flip my screens real quick. I should use what? I don't know how to use Blender, so actually if somebody wants to help teach me, I've never, that's something that you guys are experts at because you've used it.
It's pretty easy. I'm not an expert.
Well, compared to me, you're an expert, though. Right? I mean, seriously, you'd be what we call a local expert because you could teach me. I can't get to my fancy pen today. Don't know why. So prism is a 2D shape stretched. I'm going to put to have height. But height is even kind of a loose word because it doesn't have to be like from the bottom up. A 2D shape stretched to have height with same bases on two ends. And then if we want to be particular, another part about prisms is those bases are connected what do you notice about every single prism we have up here? The faces that connect those bases. What kind of shapes?
Quadrilateral.
Yeah, but they're all rectangles, right? Every single one of these side faces, if it isn't the base, it's a rectangle. So these bases in a prism are connected by rectangles. So we're going to focus just on prisms for a minute. Yes.
I was really wondering this, and this has been interesting me all last week. Why is one of your shoes why is it white Nike sample and the other?
Oh, it's inverted. I got these at Marshall's on sale for $30.
Oh my gosh.
I think it was a great find.
I was just in your head. Yeah, it was confusing.
Honest to God, if it's stuck in your head, ask it. Get it out of your head.
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Of course. We already just lost the train and talked about my sneakers, so it's okay. It's the inverted color that
I
had.
told the other classes, today we talked about this in the LA class. When you take your reading test today, I might not see you before that, so I want to say something now. Just remember what we talked about last week, that, a year from now, when you're taking this test, or when you're signing up for high school, and you're making your schedule, you're going to be glad that you tried really hard today and tomorrow. Because for some of you, that might mean you're not in remedial reading anymore. For some of you, it might mean you are easily into honors English when you sign up on your schedule. You want to make it easy for Mr. Beck to recommend you for honors English. We have so many people for Phoenix who should be in that. So many. We know the passages get, boring as you go on, especially 45 minutes in. You're like, oh, I don't want to read about James Fenimore Cooper. I don't care about his life. I understand that, but remember, and I tell the other class, it's crazy, but you actually should read the reading test. That seems crazy, but you should read the reading test. You're all good readers, but you sell yourself out when you just start okay, I'm just pumped for stuff in the questions that I'm never going to fully read the passages. You have to do that all the way through, even to the very end on day 2. So just tell yourself, if you need to stop and reboot and roll your head around and close your eyes and roll your shoulders and shake your arms out.
Even if you don't have to go, take a walk.
Do what you need to do to get yourself, rebooted and get your stamina back, and just stay focused the best that you can on the test. So, also some people have mentioned this morning that they didn't eat breakfast, which I don't even know what to say about that, but if you didn't, then soon as you leave alpha block, or as soon as you leave creative start, get your snack, eat your snack before you come to the ring.
If you don't have one, come see one of us.
Yeah, I've got some granola bars and stuff and some Capri Suns. So, eat something before you start the test, okay? And
This,
that's all
I mean,
want to say. Just
everything she's saying goes for the math test too. We've had really honest conversations with people about this. We wish you didn't have to take these tests, but that doesn't mean like, oh, I'm gonna do bad and say like, oh, boo on the test. Like, you still gotta do your best, right? So try your best. You guys are ready for this. Yeah, like she said, it's amazing. Reading the reading test, it's really helpful. My first time I took the ACT, one of my lowest sections was language arts. Luckily, you can take the ACT multiple times, so I took it again and did right. I learned how to do things like that. Estes, any advice? You're in here hanging out.
Yeah, the reading things. Does anybody ever do like me? Sometimes when I'm reading something and I'm not interested, my brain jumps into skim mode and I just go through the whole thing. You guys do that? Or I just like, yeah, don't do that.
And if you catch yourself doing that, go back.
Yeah, you just
like
have
a
to.
paragraph or two.
Every, I don't know, it's 50-50 really. Shut me up with them.
You're fine. It's alpha on a Monday.
It's 50-50 really, whether or not the passage is interesting.
Sometimes they're sweet.
Yeah, sometimes it's really interesting. You get into. Sometimes it's just not. I wish the testing place would pick interesting things for you to read, but sometimes I don't know how they get picked. But if it's interesting, just go with it. But if it's not, you have to just kind of let yourself do it. Take a deep breath. Read all of the words. It sounds stupid, but you have to read all of the words. Try to understand it, and then. I'm pretty confident everybody can do that.
You guys have a lot of time too. We opted for the extra.
You looked at me first.
I did like this.
There's one little holes. Don't dig them deep. Yeah.
Just making sure you know.
Like, when you dig yourself a hole, like when you say something or do something, and people are like,
You're left-handed.
Okay,
Here, see.
except you made a V. You
No,
didn't really
C.
finish the Z.
Double.
Okay. So, Mr. Estes, what do you know about prisms? Anything cool? They told me I should be doing this in Blender.
That was an
Estes, you gotta teach me
Hold on.
Blender. apparently.
Prism.
They said I need to use Blender for this.
Anything model
What
like.
it looks
You know what? She could model the shapes on your screen and rotate them. Rotate them on the screen.
If you end up with extra time in Blender, you want to help model some 3D shapes for me? That'd be sweet. If I could have things to like, would I be able to turn it and like manipulate it?
Yeah.
That'd be cool. It's like what I do using my dot.
Turn it around.
Yeah. Okay. What's today's date? The 8th. All right. So examples of prisms, right? Objects that go from a shape on bottom straight up to the same shape. Well, they already gave us one. Cereal boxes. Or really anything that comes in a box. Like pasta or really anything. Like, I mean, if you go to the grocery store, most items come in boxes. What else though? Give me not boxes. What other objects come with a shape stretched up to a shape? What even? Like a thing of paper, like a ream of paper? Did you say paper?
a book.
A stack of paper.
Yeah, like a stack of paper, a book. Can anyone think of anything round? Kevin? A what? A can. So if we think about, now this is going to be kind of loose because the can has like a dome in the bottom, right? And like it's kind of weird at the top, but it's a circle stretched up to a circle. A cylinder, which is the technical name for like a can or things like that, is a prism. So whether we're talking about a can or like, has anyone ever used like old-fashioned oatmeal, like the big circular canister that it comes in? It's like cardboard. So that would be a prism, right? as we start talking about the total area of these things, there are special fancy formulas that can like shortcut, but we just want to understand what we're doing right now. Right? So if we talk about surface area of an object, it's all faces. If you have a cube, that's super easy because every face is identical. Right? Find one of them, and then how many faces do I have on a cube? 6, right? So once I find one face, I would just multiply by 6. So let's try an example with this. If we had this cube and its edge length was 6. So let's say, so on your paper, if you want to write like cube with E equals 6, I wonder if there's a way that I can get this to stand at an angle. E equals 6. If you can draw a cube, you can, but I know that's pretty hard for a lot of people. If we have a cube with edge 6, to find one face, because we want to get comfortable with these vocabs too. Cube with edge equaling 6, let's just say centimeters. Then one face, how would we calculate the area of one face? If it's a square, it'll be 6 by 6, right?
Everything's equal.
So then 6 times 4, right?
No.
So I think you're thinking perimeter. So you're thinking that we have 4 edges that are all 6. If we're talking about the area of the face, we have a 6 by 6 square. We're talking about the space it takes up, right? So this is 36 centimeters squared. And then, to find the surface area, please label that SA, we have 6 identical faces. So we would just do 6 times 36. Some of us should have calculators. 216.
I had a calculator out in class. My teacher was like,
They didn't even have calculators in our school in Florida.
Are there any questions on that?
Wait, so you did 6 times 6 to get like one side, and 6 times 36 for all the sides.
Yeah, no, this, I realize I should not have used 6 probably. I should have chosen a different number. 6 was just in my brain because we were talking about 6 faces. Let's say the face was like 4 by 4. So same process, or actually let's use 5, so it's just a different number. So if we had a different prism, a different cube, if the edge length was 5, then the area of one face would be 5 squared, right, or 25. And then to find the surface area, again, if it's a cube, 6 matching faces times 25. Now this gets more challenging as soon as we work with non-cubes, which is where I don't want you to think about a shortcut or anything like that. All we're doing with this process is essentially ripping apart a box and looking at each of the faces.
So each face equals 25, right?
On that we just talked about. Yeah, if it was a cube, like well, what I just shrunk down. So a cube like this, right, identical edge lengths, and each edge was 5.
Will
Then-
it give us the edge number?
I don't know exactly what it'll give you. That's why I'm trying to work like multiple things with you. But let's look at this cereal box. So Morning Math Crunch has dimensions of 8, 4, and 2. I want you to first focus on finding the area of the 3 faces you can see. Okay, so with your partner, the cereal box that we have from our textbook. Yeah, right here. Morning Math Crunch. So if you have a book out like you're supposed to, the name for people that want to get up and do math.
first of all, the only person that would
Riley, don't judge me.
I'm not. I was thinking for a minute.
That is a really nice cereal box that you freehand drew.
Hey, I didn't tell you had to draw the box. So if we go through this and we break apart what we're able to see. Can I see the back?
No.
No. Can I quote unquote see the bottom? No, not right now. So if I start with what I can see, let's start with the top. What are the dimensions? And guys, please write down this work. It will help get it in your brain. What are the dimensions of the top? Because they're not labeled like right there on the top part.
4 and 2.
Yeah, 4 and 2, because this 4 across the bottom goes here, and this 2 across this edge goes here. So the top area is 4 times 2. And please write this on labeled with top, so we know what we're working with. And that'd be 8. What's 32?
But you have to multiply 2 times 2, and then 4 times 4.
Why?
So get it, right?
So we're looking at the area of this rectangle, only the rectangle on the top. So I drew that kind of sloppily. Area for any rectangle is length times width.
And that's the surface on
Right.
top, right?
So we're only looking at one face right now.
Yeah, but then you have to do
Wait. So ask yourself, do you understand how we got the top area? You're trying to move on, and I'm not moving on yet.
No, but then you have to do 2 times 2 because there's two sides. And then 4 and 4.
Stop.
Just length and width.
Stop. Do you understand how we got the top?
Length
That's all I want to know.
Mhm.
You're moving on, and I'm not ready to. Do you understand the top? Okay. Now we're ready to move on. And yes, you're right. We have matching sides. So what Ava's getting upset at me about is that I wasn't moving fast enough. The top also would be the same area as the bottom because they're identical faces. So we know, even though we can't see it, that the bottom face will also be 8. So we've got the top is 8. We figured that out. Now in reality, we know there would be more cardboard than that because it overlaps, but who cares? And the bottom has to match it. Are there questions how we know that the bottom matches? It's rectangular prism. They have identical faces. And I could draw this if I wanted to get artsy and like try to connect this and connect that out there. And like we would see that this is a 4x2 rectangle. So then if I take the right face, what are the dimensions of the right face?
2 and 8.
Yeah, 2 and 8. So that is 16. And then, hey Layla, if you need to move, you can go ahead and move. Otherwise, I need you with me right here. I really only need to teach for like 2 more days this year that are critical and matter. I'm trying to like not be like intense about it, but I need you with me because I don't know that we all know how to do surface area volume yet. And even if you do, it's really distracting.
Because all his
What's going
teaching
on?
builds up to the state test. That's what he gets through.
And kind of.
I mean, doesn't it
If we're being honest, I don't care about what they think about me. I'm gonna keep doing what I think is right and teaching how I think we need to teach and whatever. So if you guys do poorly on the test, I'm gonna blame the test. I'll blame myself a little bit, but I don't really care. Like I don't care what the state says.
Usually
Like,
it's not your fault.
and like I'm recording right now, right? So like whatever, this up on YouTube. I don't care what the state says based off these tests that they get a snapshot of you. I care about you guys here, and that's why we teach mastery. The right side. Are we all good? How we got the right side? Right face. I should be saying this face of the box, the nutrition label, probably whatever's on there. And then, what else do we know since we figured out the right? The left is going to match and be identical. So also write down and make sure you notate the left. And that's why I'm writing these in red. We're not calculating. We're just like copying.
Wait, do you add these all up to the end and answer?
Absolutely.
That's not hard.
So then the front, Am I using a different color? Kind of. My purple and blue are kind of the same today. I lost my old purple color. How do I calculate the front? What are the dimensions? 4 and 8.
32.
And if I know the front, we also know
The back.
the back.
Whoa, what a coincidence. They all go
So
like
it's 16 plus 16 plus 16 plus 32 plus 32.
So to find the total surface area, we just sum. So we sum it all up, and SA equals 112. And we gotta have units, guys. On the test, you gotta think about your units.
112 inches
Inches
squared.
squared. Which I don't really like. I don't like when they give you the dimensions using the ticks for inches, and then they want you to label, because we don't really ever use these when talking about area or volume. We use them when talking about a length, but once you go to area or volume, you probably just want to write IN for inches or FT for feet. Yeah.
Okay, you know how we had like that little argument on the top?
Yes.
That's not what my question was.
Okay.
Because, okay, so isn't it 4 times 2 times 2? Because you have 2 sides.
Yes, but I didn't want to let you go down that path because that's trying to shortcut. We needed to think through why would we do that. So Ava, and yes, you can take the route you wanted to, but what I wanted to be like very clear about was the reason we would do that is there are the 2 matching faces.
Yeah.
If you do 4 times 2 times 2, you will get 16 from those 2 matching. You're right, but be careful of shortcutting because that's how you can end up making mistakes.
Okay, because I thought that you didn't think that I understood.
You're good. Trust me, if I really think you don't understand what you're doing, I'm going to come and work with you, and we're going to figure it out. Questions on this cereal box? We did the top, it matched the bottom. We did the right, it matches the left. We did the front, it matches the back. Yes. Well, that's not a question. Skyler.
So once we're done, we just add them all up, and then that's like.
No, go ahead. Sorry, she was like, I wasn't finished. So once we're done, we add them all up.
We just add them all up, and then that's the surface area.
That's it.
Oh.
So on the test, don't try to shortcut yourself or do like, you've got plenty of time. Just take each part of it and write everything down, like left, right, front, back, whatever, then add it all up. Jake.
okay, that cereal looks like off-brand.
Jalen, is this helpful to the math conversation? I need you for the next 2 days to just comments that are helpful to the math conversation. Okay? Any questions, comments, concerns dealing with the math, not the cereal? So now we take this a step further and let's make our own using, now here's what the test will likely do, and this is why I wanted to review this real quick. You don't have to this year learn how to calculate the area of like pentagons or hexagons, and we can do that, we might, before the end of the school year. But so on the test, you might very well see a problem like this with a hexagonal prism. Sorry, it's hard to manipulate. So if we don't want it on the camera, I can just show it to you guys. But I wanted to like leave this here while I go write things. So what they'll tell you, this is just too challenging. This sometimes works. Nope. Stack Post-its. Now we're just too bright. So what they will tell you is here's a hexagonal prism. The base area, which we start to call big B, so if you've heard us joking around in the other math class with Braden being big B, apparently that's his nickname or something, the base area, so please write this down in your notes, the base area we start to call big B, just a capital B. So capital B is used to represent base area, as opposed to a little b would be like a base length. They will tell you the base area is like 30 inches squared. Something like that. I'm just making this up. And then they'll say the edge lengths of the base are some dimension, 5 maybe, and the height of this object I don't know, let's make it 10 to make it life easy. And notice my height isn't vertical. My height is just how far between bases. So what this then will ask you is calculate the surface area. We can't do prisms yet, or not prisms yet. We can't do that pentagon or hexagon or weird shapes. We don't know how to do those yet. But they did that for us. What do we have left to do? Ethan?
Why is it 5 inches squared?
Oh, don't know why I wrote that. That shouldn't be there. Because my brain was looking over at what units did I use over here, and I just did it automatically. Thank you for that catch.
Now you get a piece of candy. No comment.
How many of these rectangles do we have if this is a hexagon?
No, wait, no.
6, right? Hex means 6. So if we know the base area is 30, how many 30s do I have?
2.
2. I've got a 30 on this end and a 30 on that end. Right? But then each of these faces, what's the area of that face going to be? 50.
So the whole thing's gonna be 600.
So then, hold on, what do I do with that 50?
Times 6.
Times 6, because there are 6 of these lateral faces. If you want to write down the vocab, these are called lateral faces because they're around the outside of the shape. They're not the base. Guys, I should see pencils moving. I'm giving you plenty to write. That's times 6 for the lateral faces. What's 50 times 6?
600.
Ooh, careful. Step that back. 300.
Oh,
So
yes.
our total lateral area,
Because you can do 100 times 6 and divide it by 2 because 100 divided by 2.
our lateral area is 300 because that's the on the outsides. But then we got to talk about the top and bottom. So what do I add with that 300? Plus 60 more for the top and bottom, and our total surface area would be 360 inches squared.
This is not that hard at all.
So guys, I have no idea what kind of shapes they might throw at you, but that in the past has traditionally been what they like to do is they'll give you the area of the shape that would scare you, right? Talk yourself back from that ledge. When you see something, you're like, oh, we didn't do this. Read the problem. They normally give you the hard information. It's you using your brain to break apart what do I still need to do. All we had to do here is find the area of a rectangle. And then use our brain to say we have 6 of those all the way around. And we have 2 of these bases. And we're done. It's the problem solving. Guys, they're not really testing you on calculating things. They're testing you on problem solving. Just thinking. Yeah, that's really what the math test is. It's a test about thinking. Questions on this one? So now I'm going to blow your brain with how easy volume is. Draw squiggly across your paper. This same problem, and I've seen them do this before too. Say you flip to the next page and you see the same picture of the same prism. You're like, wait a minute. Okay, you're not flipping pages. I'm in my old brain. But so you're like on the next screen or something, right? And instead of asking you surface area, now they're asking you volume, and you have the exact same picture, right? They tell you the base area is 30, this is 5, and this is 10. So what they're telling you with that 30 is that this area, which you can't see because my desk is making this crazy glare, this end, right, this hexagon, so we know the base area. Here's how easy volume is. Volume for a prism, please write this down. Big B, which we now know big B is the base area.
Is it just the base times area?
It's the base area, right? That pentagon times how far we stretched it. That's it.
So times 10.
Because the taller that shape gets, the more volume it's gonna have. Right? So the base area is 30. How tall is our shape? 10, because that's the distance between the bases. And this volume is 300
That's not hard.
inches cubed. That's it. Volume's actually easier than surface area, guys.
Oh yeah.
Volume is actually easier. Now I'm going to blow your brain again because I have 1 more minute left, and that's enough time to blow your brain. When we compare, now we'll do this through experimentation here later in the year when we have more time. When we compare a prism, right? We said there's 2 kinds of 3D shapes really. Prisms and not, right? Prism compared to the same pyramid. By same, I mean it would have the same base. The relationship here, now here, I know, cute, and we'll make more stuff with these later in the year. Check it, the relationship here, how many dimensions are we working in? We said we're in the what dimension? 3rd dimension, right? This is a third of this.
So 300 just divided by 3?
Yeah, so if this is 300, this
100.
is a third, it's 100. That's it.
Volume of that. Oh
Because they have the same base area, and the same height. They're the same, quote unquote, except one's a pyramid, one's a prism. It's a third. Or this is times 3. That's all the time we got. Have a great day, guys. Good luck. You're going to do awesome today.
What room do we go to?
You're going to create a start right now. Yeah. We'll get you guys all taken care of when we come back down. I left a square somewhere, or a cube. Hey, if you did not eat and you don't have food, come see one of us.